From imitating an infamous serial killer to hunting for humans and ending a friend for an insult suffered, these children do not only cross the forbidden line, but go on to commit atrocities that would make anyone quake with both fear and astonishment. These are the most feared kids in Asia that nobody is talking about. We'll start off with Kim from South Korea. 17-year-old Kim, whose name was never fully disclosed, decided it was trendy to go take the life of another human, all in the name of a hunt. Though she was a minor and was part of a vulnerable class herself, she believed it was well within her right to hunt and murder someone more vulnerable than she was. She had a co-conspirator named Park, with whom she had been in correspondence before she went on her little hunt. Apparently, Park was an 18-year-old, and that put her above the age grade for being a minor. Kim texted her before she kidnapped her victim, telling her that she was going out on a hunt. To this, Park cruelly replied, "Too bad for the victim," and Kim went on her merry hunt. Kim found an 8-year-old girl and lured the little girl from the nearby park by promising her that she would let her use Kim's phone to call the little girl's mom. When she had successfully lured the poor little girl to her home, she pounced on her and strangled her. Not wanting anybody to find out her deranged deed, the 17-year-old demon hid the little girl's lifeless form on her apartment's rooftop. Eventually, both Kim and Park were caught, and they began to sing. Kim was a high school dropout, and through her lawyer, claimed she had Asperger's syndrome, as well as multiple personality disorder. The court refused to take those into account. She eventually also confessed to mutilating the little girl's body and delivering it to Park. Park, on the other hand, claimed that she wasn't in support of the murder, but confessed to abandoning the body. On September 22, 2017, the ruthless young people were sentenced to the maximum term in prison for a minor, which was demanded by the prosecutor. It was a rare occasion for that request to actually be granted, but such a brutal, premeditated murder called for the harshest punishment. Right now, both of them are serving their 20-year prison sentence and will be wearing a location tracking device for 30 years. If you've made it this far, how about you consider subscribing to the channel and liking the video? It really helps us out and allows us to keep bringing you high-quality content about the Mafia world. Thanks, we appreciate you. Moving on to Japan, we have Shinichiro Azuma. At the age of 14, Azuma ended the life of not just one child, but two, to suit his desire to murder. As a young child, Azuma was pretty disturbed. He would carry weapons to elementary school, claiming in his diary that it helped ease his irritation. His number of weapons amassed as he grew older, and when he was 12, he began to mutilate animals. He would line up frogs on the streets, then run them over with his bicycle and mutilate them afterwards. Pigeons and cats weren't safe in the presence of Azuma either, as he would cut them into bits just to see life leave them. After getting his fill with animals, he decided to test how experimenting on a human feels. In February 1997, he began to assault schoolgirls, and within a span of 2 months, he succeeded in assaulting 3 girls. Taking it a step further, on March 16th, he ended the life of 10-year-old Akaya Yamashita. The first attempt at murder filled him up with so much boldness, he even recounted about the incident in his diary. He wrote in gruesome details about how he ended the life of the girl with a hammer and noted that he carried out sacred experiments to confirm just how frail human beings were. In his diary, he mentioned that he couldn't even remember how many times he struck the girl across the face with a hammer because of the excitement of the moment. A week later, his mother commented about the girl who passed away, but Azuma didn't feel any remorse. Instead, he documented that a certain being named Bamanoidskin had protected him. Successfully getting away with that, Azuma grew bolder and decided to carry out an elaborate murder 2 months later. He kidnapped an 11-year-old special education student, Jun Haas, and detached his head with a handsaw. He then proceeded to stuff his mouth with a letter taunting the police and identifying himself as Sakakibara in imitation of the Zodiac Killer. Azuma placed the head in public view for the students and teachers to meet there on the next school day. The remaining part was met with horror, and it was further sickening to discover traces of semen upon analysis. The next month, Azuma sent out a 3-page letter to a local newspaper claiming that he was responsible for the death of Jun Haas, as well as threatening to kill more people. and signed the letter once more with the same alias, Seito Sakakibara. This caused a huge panic, and in the frenzy, the media misnamed him as Onibara. This infuriated Azuma that his cool alias was being ruined. So he wrote another letter threatening to kill 3 more people whom he referred to as vegetables if such a mix-up regarding his name happened again. This never happened though, as Azuma was arrested 3 weeks later on June 28, 1997 as a suspect, but he soon confessed to his crimes. As a juvenile, he was only sentenced to some 6 years in juvenile detention, but this caused such an uproar about the imbalance in the judicial system, and because of him, the age of criminal responsibility was lowered from 16 to 14. Azuma didn't learn his lesson though, and since his legal name was protected, when he was released from prison, he integrated perfectly into society. So in 2015, now 32, he decided to release an autobiography, claiming to express regret for his transgressions, but he explicitly narrated his crimes in such horrific details that the family of the victims tried to stop the release of the book. However, they couldn't succeed and the book made it to the public, earning Azuma about 10 million yen. This infuriated a Japanese tabloid and they decided that there was no need to hide the true identity of Azuma anymore. They not only released his full legal name, but also attached a picture of him as a teenager and his occupation at the time for the world. All because of Azuma, Japan went from 16 to 14 years. But because of this next child, people wondered if the law should go lower than 14 for the age of criminal responsibility. Middle school is all lilies and fun. You meet friends and go about the world without a care. But this wasn't the case with Natsumi Tsuji. At just 11 years old, she fantasized about committing her first murder. Natsumi was a normal child, a smart one even. She had an IQ of 143 and was effectively able to juggle basketball with good grades. However, her love for basketball soon overshadowed her love for books and her grades began to slip. Prioritizing on Natsumi's grades, her mother forced her to drop out of the basketball team, and this is where everything turned sideways. Natsumi became very sad that she couldn't play basketball anymore and neglected her studies further, causing her grades to drop even more. She became depressed and would spend hours on end in her bedroom surfing the internet to stifle the boredom. Although she initially just watched anime and scary movies, she soon stumbled upon an online game, Battle Royale. The game showed students killing each other on a remote island, and Natsumi's obsession grew. From there, she started her own website where she made horrible animations off this game. Then on a normal day, when she and her friend Satomi Matari, who was 12 years old, were playing an online game, the murder motive finally presented itself. Satomi called her fat and pretentious, which Natsumi found offensive, so she asked for an apology, but Satomi refused to give one. This enraged Natsumi and she began to imagine killing her friend. So on June 1, 2004, she made sure to add the murder weapon to her bag, a box cutter, and headed to school like nothing was wrong. She then patiently waited for the right opportunity to present itself. And it soon did at lunchtime. She lured her friend Satumi to an empty classroom since no teacher or student would be around by then. When the young girl entered the classroom with her, Natsumi further trapped her by telling her to sit in a chair. Once Satomi was seated, Natsumi then, without beating around the bush, told her fate by announcing that she was going to die. Satomi was perplexed and just thought her friend was joking, but before she could react, Natsumi covered her eyes, reached for the box cutter, and coldly slashed her throat. The poor girl couldn't scream for help, and as she continued to bleed, Natsumi began to slash her wrists, then left her there to bleed to death. Without trying to cover up the murder, she walked like that to her next class, shocking both the students and the teachers. Natsumi was originally sentenced to 2 years at the Toshiji Prefecture Reform School. However, after undergoing a psychological evaluation, an additional 2 years were added to her stay. It wasn't until 2008 that she was released, following a successful assessment by psychiatrists who determined that she had met the necessary criteria for release. And just like that, Natsumi was back in society like nothing ever happened in that classroom. For more dark stories of the underworld, subscribe to the channel and ring the notification bell to never miss an update.